Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our political conversation. And today I want to talk about the speech that President William Samoei Ruto made when he was in Tanzania. And the speech actually was about how we can enhance agriculture so that we can be able to feed our population, we can be able to create more jobs for our youths. And that speech actually captured me a lot because the president had actually aired out what we really need to do so that we can make agriculture to be quite attractive, and what the government must do so that agriculture can be attractive to the youths. So that's actually what we want to do about today. And at the end, I am going actually to put for you the speech of the president so that at least you can get the speech of President William Samoei Ruto and get how motivating it is or how cultivating it is. And if most of the governments in East Africa will be able to do what William Samoei Ruto said, then agriculture is going to be one of the best venture for the youths to get involved in. But before we dive in and try to do proper analysis about that, I request you kindly to take a minute or two and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Give this video a like, share the video to your friends, and if your friends are lovers of politics, then request them to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And whenever you subscribe to this YouTube channel, always remember to hit the notification bell so that at any moment we upload any political content into YouTube, then YouTube can be in that position to notify you so that you can watch the content. Now let us go back to the discussion. President William Samoei Ruto, when he was actually giving the speech about what we should do so that we can enhance agriculture, so that we can feed our population, so that we can elevate poverty and hunger in Africa. And he made that speech when he was in Tanzania. So there are key fundamentals that William Samoei Ruto touched on that the government should do so that agriculture can be quite cultivating or agriculture can attract the youth. So William Samoei Ruto said that we must invest on having good seeds. We must also invest on having correct fertilizer. That's the second thing he talked about. He also said that we must invest on providing what we call cheap finance for agriculture. And also, we must give the youth proper education on agriculture. And we must make agriculture to be quite attractive to the youths of Africa so that whenever they are able to venture into agriculture, they are able to do that confidently, knowing that they are going to reap a lot from agriculture. And agriculture is going to feed the population in Africa or in our continent. So William Samoei Ruto actually explained into length about all those things. For example, he said in Kenya that what the government did and actually has given good fruits, they reduced fertilizer. They put what we call subsidy on fertilizer. And now fertilizer was actually cheap to be accessible by farmers. Another thing that he said that the government had to do, he had to put money so that any person who is dealing with agriculture can get finance, which is actually very cheap for him to engage in agricultural activities. And then there's one thing that William Samuel Ruto said, and really it touched me. It's about that we need water to do agriculture. But we really don't need rain for us to do agriculture. Because if we have water, that means we can irrigate even those dry lands. We can be able to produce agricultural products within the year without actually knowing that we should put plants at this season and at that season. Because if we depend on pure rain, that means our productivity cannot actually be what? Be predicted, because you can plant and the drought comes, and then you will find that most of the agricultural products will be destroyed completely. So that's actually what President William Samoei Ruto had to say. But I want you to listen keenly from the horse's mouth. So listen how President William Samoei Ruto told the citizens of Tanzania about how we can do agriculture, which can be quite attractive to the youths. Listen to this keenly.
Leaders working with all the other stakeholders to think, to plan, and to do everything possible to make sure we get it right. And this forum, therefore, brings in context the importance of the subject around food and food systems. And I want to just say two things, because Mama Samia has spoken for almost all of us, and my colleagues also have spoken to the issues in the best way possible. Let me just say two things. There are two things that are important from where I sit. Number one is, how do we increase productivity? And number two, how do we bring youth into the equation? I think those two issues, encapsulates what I think should inform our thinking going forward. About productivity, let me say three things about productivity. How do we increase our productivity? How do we assist our farmers to produce more and to produce much more efficiently? Number one, fertilizer and seed. The provision of fertilizer and seed is very important. It must be accessible, it must be affordable, and it must be available. What we did in Kenya this year is that we registered 5 million farmers, and we distributed fertilizer online so that we eliminate brokers, we eliminate conmen, we eliminate people, middlemen, who normally should change farmers, and farmers end up with fertilizer that is too expensive. And because of what we did, we reduced the cost of fertilizer from about $50 a ton to less than $20 a ton. You will speak with your colleagues in Kenya across, and they will tell you that's what we did. And because of that, we increased our fertilizer uptake in just the last season alone. And I have a witness here, because Yara, who spoke earlier, Yara International, were amongst our 4 suppliers who supplied the fertilizer to us. That's number one. And let me tell you the results. Last year, we projected to harvest 44 million bags. Because of the intervention around seed and fertilizer, our projection this year is that we will move from 44 million to 61 million bags of maize alone. That is what the correct seed, the correct fertilizer, and affordable fertilizer and accessible fertilizer and seed will do to our farming. Because we just need to be practical about how we want to take this forward. And let me say something about the correct fertilizer. You know, we've been using DAP in Kenya for a long time. This year, I made a policy decision that we are not going to allow any importation of DAP into Kenya. And that is what we did. So we imported the fertilizer which our scientists assessed our soils and told us these are the nutrients that are lacking in your soil, these are the correct nutrients. We did formulation of fertilizer that we are using for our farmers. Our farmers made noise, but I am telling you today, they are the happiest people. They are the ones who are telling us, you gave us the right fertilizer. That's number one. Number two is to reduce post-harvest losses. We lose between 30 and 35, maybe sometimes even 40% of what we produce because of poor storage, lack of transport, lack of infrastructure for drying, and many other things. So, what are we doing? We're doing three things. Number one, to reduce the loss of milk, we are distributing 650 milk coolers around Kenya to make sure that our farmers can get to a milk cooler within half an hour of them milking, so that we can improve the quality of our milk and we can reduce losses from milk because of milk going to waste, number one. Number two, we're investing close to $30 million to make sure that our farmers have dryers, especially in the grain areas. And number three, we are doing market infrastructure. We're building around 400 markets around Kenya, and we are building another 50 county aggregation and industrial parks where you have storage, including cold rooms, and where you can add value to some of your produce so that we not only save on post-harvest losses because of poor storage or lack of cold room, but we also add value and take it forward. Again, that increases our productivity and our production because we eliminate post-harvest losses. And finally, and I'm saying this just so that I don't take a lot of your time. We are working on how, and I really liked what President Suluhu said, that government is careful to make sure that farmers have affordable financing or accessible, affordable credit. The same way, Mama Suluhu, you told us in your statement that Tanzania is making sure that farmers have access to credit at below 10%. In fact, you told us 9%. That is exactly what we are doing in Kenya. In fact, we are adding 10 billion shillings to Agricultural Finance Corporation to make sure that farmers have seasonal credit that they can use to expand their productivity. And finally, and this is maybe unique to Kenya, because it's just good to tell you as our neighbors, many of you don't know that 85% of Kenya is arid and semi-arid. So when my sister from UAE was speaking, I was paying very keen attention, because what she's saying is partly what we are experiencing. And that is why in Kenya, we are working with Afri-Exim Bank, we are working with the World Bank and other partners to build 100 mega dams, 1,000 micro dams for water storage, because the future rains are going to be very unpredictable. And sometimes we confuse rain for water. We need water to grow food. We don't need rain. Let me say that again. I said we need water to grow food. It is not rain we are looking for. So sometimes we get confused and wait for the rain instead of looking for the water. So I think that is as far as that goes. Let me finally talk about the young people. There is no future in agriculture unless we bring the young people on board.